Hey, you got a podcast you guys are doing, right?
We haven't started it yet.
We're getting there.
But you've started it though. You just haven't put anything out yet, right?
I've been putting YouTube shorts out with our Filer Focus radio show. That's on the Eagle.
So what's the YouTube channel?
So basically, what we're looking at doing is it's how to so how to finance, and that ties into financial literacy, which we've been working with a lot of the youth in the local community for helping develop in the schools and like the Armor Youth Project and things like that. So that's kind of where it's going to be targeting more.
Oh, why don't we just start with that? Why don't you talk about that a little bit? Because we'll circle back to some things, but I didn't realize that was going on. We talk about that at home all the time, financial literacy. Like, how can we set the kids up with some knowledge? I mean, they just don't teach it anymore in school.
Oh, boy.
And even in school, they never really taught it all.
This is a big one.
This is how you write a check.
So this has been a very large aspect of my position at Filer, actually. So we were able to have a financial reality fair, and that was in the partnership with the Mason County Promise, West Shore Community College, things like that. And that's where the students, they pick their career. So Kyle and I would go into the school. We're like, hey, what career are you going to go to? And then we bring that back, type in our numbers, and it's based on national average, like salary and how much they're making, that sort of thing. And then we bring them to the financial reality fair, and they have to go through housing, insurance, maybe they want a gym membership, and they have to work their way all the way through their budget for the month. And that was very beneficial, very good reaction. We're going to be doing it again in 2024.
It was pretty cool. We want to have it to get bigger, though. So, we want Manistee Public to be in there. We want Brethren. We want Bear Lake. Everybody in Manistee County, we need to get them. Because right now, it was all Mason County schools between Mason County Central and Mason County Eastern. And then Ludington wants to be involved, too. So, how can we make this bigger is what we're trying to do right now, is trying to make it scale from there.
We did see an immediate interest from other schools too. It was the day after. I think I was in Kyle's office, and we already had other schools interested. So, and it's part of a bigger initiative too. There's actually a statewide initiative that was partially led through the credit union movement, and that's a half credit hour of financial literacy is required for starting in this coming school year, basically.
And we can take care of that for them. We can get into the schools. We can teach financial literacy. We have a wide curriculum, whether it's a senior in high school, middle school, or an elementary school person. So at the same time, let us come in and help you with it. I mean, we have the curriculum ready for you. And Zach's been amazing since he's joined the team.
This episode is brought to you by Chapo's Northside Bar, voted best burger and wings in town. Yeah, you heard that right. If you're going to go out for a burger or wings or both, you might as well go to the place that's voted the best. The best. Why wouldn't you have anything less? Look, and if you're not down for a burger or wings, that's cool. They've got salads, wraps, and sandwiches also. And this summer, it's going to get wild because on June 24th, it kicks off their summer concert series in the parking lot. Live music, folks. And guess what? It's free. Yeah. Come down for the music, stay for the fun, enjoy the best burger and wings in town. Chapo's Northside Bar.
Community development, Filer's gotten up there a lot more than what they have in the past, and that's a big testament to what Zach's been doing. And we see a gap in financial literacy, and that doesn't necessarily start just in high school. I mean, there's people that are 40, 50, 60 years old that need financial literacy help. We see it every day.
Yeah, 100%.
So, and how can we reach those individuals as well? So, our focus maybe this last year was kind of in the school systems, but how can we make it bigger? Can we teach people about credit building and how does your credit score work and how does that affect you getting loans? So that's the type of stuff that we need to do, and we've started to do in a much bigger fold with Zach on board.
Are you guys blazing this trail, or is this something that is a national thing that you've kind of dovetailed into?
It's kind of like a credit union thing, right? So our mission is always people helping people. So we always put in the member first. So when somebody comes in for a loan and we're like, hey, this is the best credit score with the lowest rate that we can give you, that's just the credit union way. And that's we want to be a trailblazer in our markets. And that's what we're trying to do right now. And I think that we're doing a pretty darn good job at that.
But this particular education piece that you're doing, is that a Filer Credit Union thing?
In our area, I would say yes, but there's plenty of credit unions throughout the state of Michigan that are doing similar projects.
Okay.
And it does tie into, as Kyle was saying, like if an adult needs financial literacy, like all of us do, right? And so that's kind of where like the podcast and YouTube channel combo is coming into it, is because it's that same curriculum that we're teaching to the kids. It's just going to be available to the public on YouTube. So
just think back when you were in high school. You learned algebra, calculus, physics, geometry. Sure, right. You went to class. Maybe you didn't retain the stuff. Yeah. But how many times did they teach you about learning credit scores or how to write a check even or what's an overdraft? Like that type of stuff, it's not there or it never was. And now it's coming about a little bit just because of what credit unions have pushed for with that half credit hour. But there's no practical math right now in schools outside of your algebra, geometry that maybe you don't use in your careers now. Even in banking, I can tell you I don't use physics, I don't use calc, the stuff that I had to learn at some point, but practical stuff I use every day. And we need to get that out there more in the school systems and just in our communities in general.
So, just to kind of dial it in just a little bit, so you're actually showing kids how to do a physical budget.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that's what the Financial Reality Fair does. It's a simulation of 1 month. Zach touched on to get their salary, whatever career they choose. We give them a student loan number that this is how much an average student loan is for that career. You go through, you have 12 different stations. You have transportation, housing, extracurriculars, and you got to write down your budget physically on their own where they do it pencil and paper. And then at the end, they go to financial counselors. And the financial counselors say, hey, you're in the red or you're in the black. You maybe need to make an adjustment on something else that you went to. So, for example, there's a transportation station, and these people are meant to upsell you. So they're not all helpful people that we get. We had, 30 to 35 volunteers in the community professionals that came in, and they're not all helpful volunteers in the sense like they're playing a character. Yeah. So you come in, you want to get a car, like maybe you can only afford a compact car, but I'm going to sell you this SUV that costs $500 extra a month just because it's going to help my book. So it's kind of cool, and I think people really got in the character, and they really enjoyed it, at least from the feedback we got.
Yeah, the volunteers definitely had fun with it.
Mm-hmm. This is kind of like a financial freedom, like a Dave Ramsey type situation, but it's free.
Mm-hmm. It's free.
It's free. Which is wild. So you're trying to get more. So I'm all over the place with this because it's super interesting. But the half a credit, that's going to be required?
It is required this school year.
Okay, so is that MAPS then? In MAPS, that they're requiring it?
Yep. So it's a state, it's not an ordinance, like state, it went through the legislature, and so all schools in the state of Michigan have to have a half credit hour of financial literacy somehow in their curriculum.
And that's, you can't graduate high school or you can't?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yep, it's got to be part of it.
So it's just embedded in the curriculum.
Yep.
Kids don't have a choice, they're doing it.
For sure.
Which is great.
Mm-hmm. They need it.
Absolutely.
And we can help with that. So
will you guys be teaching it? Or will they have?
Well, we're trying to, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
that makes sense, especially if you're
because we're already like well versed in the financial literacy. We have different employees that are well versed in different sectors of it. We also have like baseline like education programs through third parties that set us up with curriculums already, and so we're set up for it.
Mm-hmm. It would make their lives easier. I mean, if you're a teacher and you're like, oh man, now I got to come up with a whole new curriculum to accommodate this half credit hour, like, call Filer Credit Union. Like, we'll come in, and if you just use this for 1 year and then you take it from there, great. Then we've done the impact that we want to make happen. But at the same time, we want to do it every year for you. I mean, that's our goal.
All right, so we're going to circle back to this because there's a couple of components that I want to talk about, like what you're doing there now. And so why don't we just do this really quick for everybody who's just listening or doesn't know who you are.
Sure.
Just give us a little bit of a biography on who you are, Kyle.
Yeah.
And do the same for Zach.
Yeah, so I've been in credit unions. So let's start from the very beginning. I grew up in Ludington, Michigan. I know. It's like I'm a Benedict Arnold for Ludington people, and then the other side of it is like, oh, you're from Ludington, I hate you. But grew up in Ludington, graduated from Ludington in 2006. I went to Calvin University, got a double major in finance and economics. And then from there, I also have certifications from the University of Wisconsin in like executive banking management and executive strategic management. And then from banking, I've seen both sides of it. So I worked in Fifth Third Bank, so I've been in a large commercialized bank. I've worked in credit unions for over 10 years. And I also did a stint in like title insurance doing sales type stuff, which I loved, but I just knew that wasn't sustainable and what I wanted to do in my life. But prior to coming to Filer a year and a half ago, I was at Safe Harbor Credit Union in Ludington for about 10 years. And I just love the credit union movement. Everything that the credit unions do is like what I want my life to be, where you're making community impacts. It's putting people above yourself. And I didn't feel that way when I was at Fifth Third Bank. When somebody would come in and they wanted an account, I forced you into a credit card, checking account, savings account, everything you didn't necessarily need because I got pressure from up top. When you come into a credit union, we're saying, what can we do for you? You're coming in for a checking account. I see you have loans at other institutions. We have lower rates. If you'd like to consolidate and bring it over here and save you some money, that's what we're here for. So just putting the people over profits is what I'm really driven by, and I think that's what Filer is coming around to and what we've really made our goals every year. So, and I'm also a huge avid sports fan. I'm probably the biggest Lions fan you ever meet. I got to watch the game by myself. I can't have people around me. And then also a huge Cubs fan too. So sports was my life forever. So played sports all through high school, played college baseball, and that was Kelvin University. Yeah. And then from there, it's just played with the Saints for a few years up here in Manistee, which was fun. But that's been my life. And I got a beautiful wife, definitely outplaying my coverage, and then 2 kids that are crazy as hell. So 5-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Oh my God. Could you, for me, for example, and I'm sure some people listening too, what exactly is the difference between a credit union and a bank?
Yeah, I love that question. So I like to start at the board of directors. Our board of directors are all volunteers, where a bank's board of directors are shareholders. So they have incentive for the bank to make more money off fees. So as the bank is making more money off fees, more interest, so higher interest rates, they're getting money in their pockets because they're shareholders. Where our board of directors are volunteers that are putting members first. Like, how can we pay the members? Because at the end of the year, our board of directors aren't getting that dividend payout for wherever our net income comes in at. We also are putting people over profits, which most larger banks are not necessarily doing that. They're chasing the coin because that's where all their incentives are, and the direct reports from the board of directors to make more money that way. So that what I would say is one of the biggest things. We're also a not-for-profit, huge difference than non-profit. So I mean, we make a profit every year, but with the profits that we make, we put back into our membership. So that would be better technology, more outreach, so like branch expansions and that type of thing, compared to where banks are putting it into shareholders' pockets and maybe executive management's pockets, because that's where they tie their bonuses into. So those are the 2 biggest things. We do everything a bank can do. So we got your commercial loans, your mortgage loans, consumer loans, every type of product that you would need. A lot of people don't feel that way about credit unions, but we have everything that you need. Honestly, we just have such a bigger community impact. Like, community banks are great. I mean, we have local community banks that I think do a great job. But I would put credit unions above them just because of the people over profit and then the community touch that we have.
Can you give us a little background history on Filer?
Yeah, so we initiated in 1951, so we've been operating for about 72 years in Manistee County. So right now we're about a 230 million asset size credit union, which puts us right around like a medium asset size credit union in the whole state of Michigan. So Michigan has about 200 credit unions, and I think Filer is doing a fantastic job in the sense of like keeping our budgets. Like, we have an amazing staff all the way around, and we have roughly 12,000 members. So that stretches the whole state of Michigan, but our main concentration is Manistee County, obviously, where we started.
I
And
feel like everybody in Manistee has a Filer credit union debit card.
yeah, I really believe that we're the market leader in Manistee County, and hopefully people feel that way. And I want people to feel that way for loans as well. Like, I feel like we're the market leader in like checking accounts and savings accounts, but when you think of loans and mortgage loans and business loans, I feel like we get overlooked sometimes. Even though we have all the products, we have people capable of doing these things, I just feel like people are forgetting about your local institution that are wanting to do better for you.
Yeah.
So that's what would be my challenge for Manistee County and the surrounding counties. Like, don't forget about us. Like, we have great regulations as well as great underwriting that we can save you a little bit of money. Just come talk to us. We're not going to steer you wrong. So I would challenge people on that side. Just like, come see us. We want to get more people out there. So
it's growing. You're creating positions.
Definitely.
So
we're
Zachary,
definitely growing.
fire away.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you're one of my best friends. I know you very well, but some people might not. So
Yeah, so I'm Zachary Pawloski. I'm the Director of Marketing and Community Relations at Filer Credit Union. And James and I have worked together for, I don't know how many years
it's been at least 5 years.
like
now.
5 years
Yeah.
now? I don't know. Some of you have probably seen me in the videos, or James has mentioned me behind the camera. But largely, I've been freelancing since 2010. I started down in Houston, Texas. My degree is actually in film and television, but yeah, freelance. I've done everything: website, graphic design, video, photography, just all across the board for years and years freelancing. So then I came to Filer, which was kind of it's a culmination of just like all the stuff that I know, and like that's why I think we're gonna be successful, and that's why I think Kyle probably saw that in me too in my interview too. It's just like all of these things that I know are just kind of coming together for this position.
Yeah, no, I think more than Kyle, I've seen that. Like, I've talked to numerous people since, not to,
stroke Zach's ego here
a little bit here, but I mean, in terms of like a bank or a credit union or that category, at least in Northern Michigan, like I don't really see a whole lot of marketing behind any of them. And Zach coming on board has really put Filer kind of in. It's out there. I mean, a ton of people are seeing your stuff online. They're seeing it on Instagram. They're commenting about it. I had somebody in the other day that was like, I mean, does Filer have like 25 new branches? Because they see it everywhere, which is great.
Yeah.
They see it, they hear it, they're reading it. That whole old school 360 marketing thing. I mean, you're really kind of nailing it. So, I mean, what was the mindset behind creating that position? Just bring more awareness to Filer?
I think that was one of the...
obviously, that's kind of like important.
It's always the goal.
To grow.
And I think we were extremely fortunate. So when we sat down and talked when I first came on, it was saying, what do we need to do better? And when I looked around Manistee County, I was like, we don't have near enough exposure. So that means like sponsorships, whether it's like putting a banner up at Reitz Park for Saints games or getting into the schools and doing that type of thing. And I was like, we need somebody that could come in here and be like the face of Filer Credit Union. Fortunate enough, like we had a lot of good candidates that applied for the position that Zach got, but Zach came in and we sat down, and I don't want to make Zach's ego bigger than it needs to be, but he came in, we sat down, and he interviewed, and I was like, Casey, who is our CFO, and she was in there with me, and I was like, this is a person that can think holistically. So, like, he sees the bigger picture. It's not just day-to-day. He's not just going to go in there and be like, we're going to do this today and see what happens and then forget about it. Like, his first year, he hasn't even been here for a year, and it's gotten to the point where, like, this is what I'm doing for marketing. These are the call to actions. This is everything that I'm studying. I was like, Zach, this is your budget. Stay within it. Figure it out. Like, it's blown up in the sense that, like, our exposure has gotten so much better, and I really do believe that's why our membership growth has really exponentially grown this last year. It's part of it, and there's other factors, too, that we have a more focus of, like, get into the community, where join boards, join commissions, whatever you need to do, like, get out there, even if it's during the workday. Like, I want people to see Zach's face with his Filer hat and his Filer shirt on. Like, as many times as you can see Filer, you're going to be like, oh, I want to get a car line. Oh, yeah, I saw Zach. He was wearing his hat. Let me check out Filer. So I feel very fortunate to have Zach. I'm probably like digging my grave right now where I was like, oh, Zach's great. But he's made a huge impact. And just like a lot of other employees, and I know Zach would speak the same, is we have a lot of all-stars on our team. And we need to make sure that we're getting them out there and challenging them. And we've done, I believe, a good job of that, of making people more comfortable to be out of the office, work in the community.
I feel like the energy's changed. The vibe is higher. You've created something. Because Zach and I know each other so well, I mean, we're both very much like, what can we do to build community?
Yeah.
Right? And, I mean, you could see that in you.
Sure.
And then you guys coming together. It's made Filer look more like, I want to do business with Filer because they're doing business in the community, because they're building community. And you guys are doing other things, too, like you were on the leadership program, correct?
It was great.
The Chamber of Commerce. Zach is on the board at Friends of Smart Trails. And I'd like to talk about both of those things as well, because I think they're super important. Let's start with the leadership program and what you built there with the life jackets.
Yeah. So Carmen Cott does a fantastic job with the leadership program. And when we met together, and I believe you've been through the leadership program as well. You haven't? I would recommend it.
I'm just a leader, dog.
Yeah, I know you are. You're like you're a community ambassador. I know that. You're like a community ambassador. I know that already. But I would still encourage you to jump into that because coming into Filer, I wanted to learn more about Manistee County, and that's like the first thing that we go into and do. So I learned about like the tribe and everything that goes into Manistee County, and I thought that was amazing. And at the very beginning, they're like, all right, you got to have a community project. What can you do? And we learned about how there was a lot of drownings in the area, and we live on a beautiful lake, right? And we have a ton of inland lakes, so why don't we try to protect not only our local people, but as well as our tourists that come in that don't know what an undercurrent is or an undertow. So we ended up building 7 life jacket stations all around Manistee County, and I've seen kids wear them. I know I've taken my family to the beach up here a few times, as well as Magoon Creek, and I've seen people wearing the life jacket. So it's doing what it's supposed to do. And if we can just save one life, that's all that really matters to us, and hopefully it saves more lives than that. But I speak very highly about that leadership program just because of everything that was put into it, whether it's going into the Dempsey House and learning about the history there, or going to the tribe, or going to there were so many different places that we went to throughout this. It was like an 8-month span. Not only that, but meeting people from different sectors of Manistee County and different professions. And that's part of, Manistee has so much untapped potential that like we need to open up. And the side of like more community events, like that block party, amazing. Like why don't we do that more often? Like why aren't we doing a Friday Night Live? Why aren't we doing bonfires on the beach? We have so many assets that we can use to our advantage, but we also need the people that want to do it.
Volunteer.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
we need people that want to volunteer. And in these rural communities, I guess I'm going off topic from the leadership program, but like in the communities like this, like predominantly it's older individuals. And how do we get those individuals motivated to want to volunteer? Maybe it's a fun event that they need to come out and do, but we need to get strong committees that we get volunteers to come out and do this type of stuff. So I'll get off my soapbox on that, but I just feel like there's so much potential here that we could do to make Manistee like a destination to bring young families into.
Yeah, it's getting more people to do what you just said, come together, get on committees. But it's so hard. I mean, I've got friends that are a little bit younger than me, in their late 20s, early 30s, and I'm constantly like, why aren't you in the JCs? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? I mean, you're young. You don't have any kids at home, because they're also the ones that are like, Christ, there's nothing to do in this town, Well, I mean, help be the change.
Yeah, you can be the change.
Yeah,
just do something. Just make something happen. It's not that hard.
I get asked that quite often too, because of all the organizations that I've been involved with, and I'm just like, you got to show up. Just start showing up at the meeting, and then if you show up like a couple times, then you're probably just going to be on the board, because it's all the same people on 3 different boards for different organizations, and like the volunteer situation is the same. It's like the same people doing volunteer stuff over and over and over.
Yeah, like for our events.
Yeah,
I mean, we have the same gangsters showing up for
but it's awesome. They're committed to continue to do it.
They're committed, and they're awesome to work with. They know what they're doing. We don't have to really tell them at this point. They already know. So, but yeah, just show up.
So, what are you doing for the Smart Trails? What's going on there?
Oh yeah,
this is gonna be a nice little
I want to hear too.
Okay, so Smart Trails is the scenic area Scenic Manistee Area Recreation Trails.
Check that off my question list.
I was going to say, so it's kind of a mouthful, so that's why it's smart. But we work with the Manistee County Recreation Commission, like their committee, and we're more of the like volunteer fundraising group. So far, there's been a lot of figuring out positions really between the different trail groups, and figuring out like where everybody like fits. Are we writing grants? Are they writing grants? Who's taking care of the trail? Who's doing this? And it's also with the Manistee County Snowbirds too, like huge aspect there with them. But it's for pedestrian trail network in Manistee County, and it's part of the larger county recreation plan. But one thing that I love cycling, as you guys know, like I cycle quite often. Like I grew up with the Hartmoniu Trail, which was the first state park bike trail in Michigan. We had to get little state park stickers like to ride on it. They used to have officers, patrolling it, and they would check for stickers and stuff. And now you can just ride on it without that. So we received an EDA grant, though. It's going to be putting a bridge over Bear Creek. Should be spring of next year. if everything goes according to plan, and that changes the trail designation from Calava to Thompsonville, where there's not really trail right now. It's old railroad bed and people can drive on it, but it changes it over to non-motorized. In the meantime, because I know people, all the different trail aspects, like we have different trail usage, right? And so the snowbirds actually have a secondary group called the Dirtbirds. That just started, but they're basically in charge of like the side-by-side ORV ATV situation in the county, and they're developing mapping for all of them so they can kind of have their own routes, their own trails.
Yeah, which would be nice.
Which is fantastic.
You don't need it ripping up all the trails.
Right. It's awesome. And it also ties into like this larger, because you can view trails as recreation, but you can also view trails as recreation. And so like one of the things to moving here is like our median income for Manistee County is not very good, honestly. Like it's pretty low. And so when you need to start looking at alternative transportation for people and like which direction trails are going to go. You know, like somebody going to be able to ride their bike to work, and that sort of thing. And I think we see that quite often. We see people walking to work on the side of 31.
So. Yeah.
You know, we see that quite often. And if there was better trail infrastructure, they'd be able to actually utilize that. And so, like, in my mind, that's kind of like my larger picture with it is to be able to help everybody out with it, as well as just be able to enjoy the trail, too. But it really does connect the county together. Like if we're connecting to, Manistee, Calava, Chief, Thompsonville, Onekama, like if we're starting to connect all these places, you should be able to just ride your bike or walk or, that sort of thing. And it just makes it way more accessible. The very large plan for that, though, is like there's so much going on in Thompsonville. And so like there's going to be this huge intersection in Thompsonville. And then that's going to lead up, hopefully, Betsy Valley Trail area. But, like, we have the Grand Traverse region. Hopefully, like, we'll get connected up there, head into, like, Wexford County, and then start connecting towards, like, Cadillac, which connects to Grand Rapids, which connects, here. And it just keeps going. So
much like snowmobile connections, are everywhere.
Yep, absolutely. And so we'll be able to just, maybe I'll be able to ride my bike up to Traverse City and not have to take, like, way back roads or take 22 or 31 or something like that, and that'd be awesome. So
yeah, just a short little bike ride.
Holistic view, right?
Yeah.
I told you this guy, he's got holistic view. He sees the big picture. I mean, it's not just like, hey, I'm going to get a bike trail here for 5 miles. It's like I can connect Traverse City to Grand Rapids to Cadillac to Holland, Chicago.
It's going to be super easy to do.
Yeah.
It's not going to cost a lot of money.
Gravel's cheap, right?
Yeah. Gravel, yeah.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So you've got advocacy for the trails. You're providing education for the trail system. You're working on maintaining the trails is a big part of it. How does the money come into play?
So that's something that's more recently kind of got figured out, really, just because of how the grant structures have worked. So what we're eyeing up is we're going to be raising money basically to match grants. And then that way we can, apply for bigger grants at that point. And like the community foundation we've been working with, and hopefully we can get some more like bigger grants. We need trailheads still, just on the trail that we have, maybe add like the benches and that sort of things too. But primarily it's going to be match money.
So how are we getting the match money? Like, are we doing donation drives, fundraising drives?
Yes. So infancy stage now, but currently we're working on a couple like smaller projects for people to donate, kind of like charity dinner type stuff, just smaller scale. Would like to scale up, obviously, but there's been a lot of like just working with our strategic plan and getting all of that situated, and like I said too, like figuring out where like the county grant writer falls, and figuring out where the county recreation committee fall. Like we were trying to figure all that out, and they were too. It wasn't just us. Everybody was just trying to like, okay, well, who's doing what? And so now that we have a more defined role, we'll be able to start hammering away at getting donations.
So the big picture goal, in my mind, for Manistee County is 4-season. We can do all kinds of stuff all year round, as business owners. people in credit unions, we're trying to increase population, bring that median age down, let people know that we have 4 seasons that we can enjoy here. It's not just the beach season, or for the people that come up from downstate or whatever when they want to do their snowmobiling or anything like that, or fishing in certain points of the year. But like for everybody, there's something to do year round. This is a bigger conversation that we could have with like Manistee Tourism. By the way, I like the new logo.
Cool.
The new kind of direction they're going there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Seems pretty nice. But I guess what I'm getting at is like, what's the bigger vision for Filer Credit Union? What does that look like as you try to grow in community and with some of the things you're doing kind of on the side hustle?
Yeah, and I think that hits the nail on the head. Like, we want to get families in that currently bank with not only Filer Credit Union but in the area as well. And if we can get all those younger members in to start working with us early in age, that's the school age kids to come and be with us for a lifetime. That's the goal, right? Our average age for our membership is around 55 to 60. We'd like to see that lowered. Not necessarily saying like we're forgetting about the people that have been with us forever, because they're what made us, and we want to make sure that we're putting those people first. But how do we attract those younger members? And it's technology, the ease of service, those big purchases that you make, whether it's a mortgage or a commercial loan, business loan, like you want to come in and sit down with somebody one-on-one so you understand it. But how do we make the ease of service much easier, where you could be in Manistee Beverage, take a picture on your phone and be like, all right, well, I forget, I saw a car go by, I want to get a car loan right now somehow. Or if you're at a dealership, I'm on my phone, I want to get a car loan right now. And Zach's been working on a lot of the technology side. So like community development and marketing, like he's a rock star at that, but he's also been working on the IT side of like implementing different project management type things. So just online banking in the sense of like you can open a membership within 5 minutes off of your phone. We have some verifications that need to happen. We want that to happen all across the board. And we're also investing in more technology where it's like video banking now. So we'll have like a virtual branch. You can be anywhere in Michigan and be like, oh shoot, I forgot I got to talk to somebody about my online banking or transfer money. And you can just get on your phone, go to our website, click on something, and you're face to face with somebody just off of your phone, and you can do everything you wanted to do: apply for a loan, transfer money, change your address, as long as we have verification on it. So we're working on the technology side of it. So in my opinion, that's what's really going to bring more people in. But how does that impact our community? We want Manistee's community to get more younger families coming in, but we need the city's help to do that too. We need the area people, business leaders in this area to help with that as well. Like, how are we making this an attractive place to come live with a young family and prosper forever? So, I mean, that's the goal, but it takes more than a Manistee Beverage or a Filer Credit Union to do that.
And you're in other communities, though. Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The business side of it also ties into some products that we're working on too, and that's like the part that I'm excited about too, is like business development stuff, and just expanding our business offering, whether it's like more better payroll services or like, just whatever your business needs essentially. And those businesses are that base of that community, and they're the people who are hiring other people and bringing those families in and bringing the youth in and raising their kids here, and just being able to be more attractive for them is going to go a long way as well. So
how are you guys putting a focus on business loans, stuff like that? Because for years I always thought you don't get a business loan at a credit union.
Sure. Yeah. Do you want to touch on what you're working on with BizLink and our business platform?
Yeah. So I'm working on, it's called BizLink, but it's going to offer some more accessibility for like accounting and payroll, and like it's going to have like the mobile check deposit for businesses to make it easier for them, and they don't have to come into our branch, and they can have more control over their own accounts through those offerings. And it's also tying into like the business loans, and it's also tying into like our basic business, savings and checking and all of that fun stuff too. But I already have businesses lined up too that I'm going to be doing videos with and talking to, and like people who actually use us on a daily for their accounts, and then we'll be able to see that here pretty quick, really. And you'll be able to see like how we're in the community with those businesses. Yeah.
And you kind of hit it on the head though, where you think, oh, credit unions don't do business loans, or they don't have commercial loans, they don't have business accounts. And for the longest time, I would say maybe 1980s, 1990s, like credit unions never really focused on that. We focused on just serving, like how credit union started, it was all seg based and you're tied to a certain business, and that's the only people that could bank at that credit union. So we started with PCA, right? So if you were a family member of somebody that worked at PCA, or you were employed by PCA, you were the only people that could bank at Filer Credit Union at the time. And that's all changed. So like now membership, you can live, work, worship, go to school in the state of Michigan, you can become a member of Filer Credit Union. And how that's kind of evolved now, we're getting bigger and bigger with more offerings, and that's part of like just come talk to us. So like I can guarantee you our rates are as competitive, if not better, on the business side, consumer side, and mortgage side than anybody in our area. So, and I would put our service up there with anybody. I mean, obviously I'm probably partial to it, but I think we take a lot of pride in that. So the biggest thing, just like check us out. It doesn't hurt anything. We can save you some money, and we have all the products that you need.
How does So a business comes in, like I come in and say, all right, I need a loan because I'm going to buy a building downtown and I'm going to put liquor in there. We got to get creative.
Sure.
I mean, it's kind of a broad ask, like get creative. Like, I mean, I have an SBA loan and I've been working with that. It's been very well for me.
Yeah.
Do you have products like that? Do you have?
Yeah. So we work with a company called Element 22, and they do all of our commercial underwriting. They do it for credit unions all across the board. And what we do, we would take your application, we take all the information that we need, we'd send it down to Element 22, and they send us a score back and says, this is where James' score comes in from a 1 to 10 scale in terms of risk. And then once we get that risk score, then we're determining what your rate is at that point in time. And then when your rate is set, at that, you would be like, all right, there's negotiating power one way or another on where your rate is at. But we judge that based strictly off risk, because commercial, there's a little more gray area than black and white like a mortgage or a consumer loan would be. But in my opinion, our commercial portfolio isn't near as big what it needs to be. We need to start doing business with more people like yourself and people that are getting startup businesses in the area. But it's a pretty easy process, to be honest. You give us your information, we get the underwriting done, and then we present to you what our offering is, and then we meet with our loan committee and we get it approved and go through. Obviously, confidentiality purposes, I can't be like, these businesses do loans with us. But you can look in the area, and there's plenty of businesses that do loans with us, and I would love to be able to like, hey, go talk to this individual and talk about how easy it was. We've turned commercial loans around in a week, and it depends on complexity of different loans. So like if you're trying to buy a building, obviously this can be a little bit longer, but if you're trying to get a product that you're able to use immediately, I mean, we can turn it around pretty quickly. And we have a pretty easy, like all of our own decision making is local. That's something different than a lot of the larger commercialized banks and the community banks. A lot of their local decision making is out of Grand Rapids or Detroit or Chicago. All decision making is made right here in Manistee County in our building over there by the bungalow on 28th Street. So it's all local decision making where we're like, we know James, he's got a successful business right now.
I was going to touch, I mean, not to throw shade on any of the other banks. I mean, I bank at a few different banks, and I have some online banking that we have as well. But it's always been in my, because I've been a member at Filer Credit Union for a long time.
Since 1951.
Don't age James that quickly.
I for sure had, an ATM card when I was 18. So, I mean, that was well over 20 years ago. So it's been a long time. But what I'm getting at here, focus, James. What I'm getting at here is I've always been able to call and talk to somebody I know. And a lot of times when I call the other institutions that I'm with, I'm talking to a bank of answer machine people that don't know who I am, that don't know the person they're transferring me to. But if I have a question and I need to get a hold of somebody at Filer, it's like that. Unless it's Zach. He never responds to my text messages.
He's a busy man.
I switch phones during the day.
Well, that's good to know.
He's got a burner phone.
Burner phone.
But yeah, I guess what I'm getting at here is walking in or making a phone call. It's always been, it's one of those things where I tell stories about, growing up, calling like the doctor's office and say, I mean, obviously things are a little bit different now, but I would call the doctor's office and be like, I think I've got this bug going around. All right, the prescription will be at Kmart, so don't come in and get everybody sick. It's kind of the same thing with the credit union still. Not like I can get a car loan over the phone like that, but I get my questions answered right away. I can come in and talk to somebody I know, and
You'd be surprised. You may be able to get a car loan turnaround pretty quickly just over the phone.
I mean, I probably could.
Yeah. It's just the ease of service. And we try to take pride on hiring people that are embedded in our community. So we have a branch in Bear Lake. We want people that live in Bear Lake to work at that branch. We have Manistee branches.
That's a newer branch, yeah.
Yeah, so 2020 is when that opened, like during the pandemic. And then obviously we have a Parkdale branch, and then our branch here just south of town, and then our Ludington branch, which we're hoping to be open spring 2024. And we hope to do the same thing. Like, you hire people that are within that community that people trust. And you're like, oh, I know James. I know James's family. Like, great people. I want to work with James. Like, that's the goal of who you're hiring and who you want to be in there. Just it adds a whole different element. Like, people know Zach. We hired Zach. People are like, oh, Zach works at Filer Credit Union. Like, Zach doesn't do loans, but just because of who Zach is, I guarantee we've got a handful of loans just because of that. So we need to hire those type of people.
How's that look for you with the branches, the growth, with Ludington? I mean, I don't want to speak to your position, but you don't have anybody like within your grasp to just come with you, right? Like, you're a one-man show right now.
Currently, yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's part of our long-term.
There's strategic plan in there.
Our long-term strategy, is to have some more help for me. But as we continue to grow, I have to take a look at the local market. I have to figure out, Kyle knows so many people in Ludington, and figure out who we need to get in touch with in Ludington. Just from a local networking perspective, that's usually where I start. Who do you know? Actually, I was in Kyle's office yesterday, and I was like, well, I met so-and-so in Ludington. I found out he knows you, and he has a business in Ludington, and it just starts from there. And there's so much marketing-wise that's just word of mouth and people knowing people, and that network growth is really where you start from.
Mm-hmm.
What does the strategic plan look like over the next 5-10 years for Filer?
It's a great question. And I guess it's changed drastically from different leadership, right? So when I come in, my mindset is I want to continue to grow. The credit union movement's changed vastly over the last 10 to 15 years, where there's a lot of consolidation, where there's mergers happening all over the place. I don't see that in Filer's future. Filer's future is definitely focused on rural Michigan, in the sense of, if I could pick a perfect area that we're going to continue to serve, it's between Muskegon and Traverse City, right? So that's rural Michigan, and that's our niche. That's what we're good at. But we want to make sure that we haven't forgotten about our roots, and our roots is Manistee County, and we want to continue to invest in the community here. But I would love to continue to grow up and down 31, in my opinion, and that creates sustainability from our aspect too. If we were content and we're complacent, we said, yep, we're just going to sit here, we're not going to continue to grow, at some point we're going to get gobbled up, and that's just not our mindset. Our mindset is we're going to continue to grow, invest in technology, invest in services, and invest in what we got, and continue to hire difference makers, people in our communities that want to go out there, make a difference in the community, which is going to come back and prosper at Filer Credit Union. I can teach you all the stuff you need to know in the sense of the X's and O's, but I can't teach personality. I can't teach people that have the initiative to go in there and be like, let me make a difference in my community. So how do we find those people? And that's one of the biggest goals moving into, because talent's not the easiest to come by in rural Michigan, unfortunately. And when you get those people, make sure that you're challenging them, make sure that we continue to have them grow. But we're going to continue to grow. We want to make sure we get Ludington up and running. And once Ludington's up and running, then we'll reconfigure our strategic plan from there. But more positions, better paying positions, that's the goal. We want to continue to make an impact on that side.
Well, I mean, like you said, you guys have been here forever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I've seen banks come and go, credit unions come and go.
Yeah.
Different signs all of a sudden show up on another bank. It could be frustrating for the consumer. For the person that's going to the bank or credit union, wait a minute, yesterday it was this, today it's this, I have to get a new card. Plus, over the last couple of years with some of these big bank disasters that have happened, I mean, I know that at our house we talk about stuff like that all the time. Is it safe to have everything in one place kind of situation?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you said real quick there, if we don't grow, we could get gobbled up or something like that. See, for me though, I'm thinking, I don't know about that. You guys have been around forever.
Yeah.
You have a strong foothold in the community, and you're doing the things that, I mean, I don't think any other banks are really doing. Some banks are just putting their money someplace, but they're not putting their people someplace. They're not encouraging their people to go out into the community. I don't think. You can hit me in the comments on that one, but I don't see it. I see it with you guys. I mean, in part because, you and I are really good friends. We're becoming good friends. So I see you out in the community doing more and more things. I think that's the route.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Economies of scale is a real thing too. So as you continue to grow, that allows you to get more people that can make a difference. That allows you to, to invest in more products and services. But you hit the nail on the head. You got to hire the right people. If you don't have the right people, that can sink a ship really quick. And just to make sure that everybody's on the same page, like we are a very strong credit union in the sense of financials. Like we have done a fantastic job. Maybe a too conservative a job at some points where maybe we should have branched out a little bit on a faster scale, which we're trying to catch up with now in the sense of not only products and services, but reaching a bigger footprint. But we have the team to do it now, and we feel comfortable moving forward, and we want to make sure that we're continuing to do that, which I think that we are.
So communications and marketing director.
Yes.
We kind of bookend this with where are we putting the flag for Filer over the next 6 months before the end of the year? What events are you looking at doing? What are you guys supporting in the community as we finish out the year here, this summer going into the fall?
Oh yeah. So let's see here.
Run the Pier, Rusty Fish.
Yeah, we're sponsoring Run the Pier, Rusty Fish stuff.
Yep.
So that's coming up, and we also, we just finished. I feel a little like brain fogged because we just finished like 4th of July and Bear Lake Days, both, which we were there. But
That was fun.
Let's see here. We're starting to plan for our financial reality fair in September for 2024.
And where's that going to be?
That'll be at West Shore Community College. It's going to be bigger and better than last year, which this is only year 2. But it's going to be year 2, but it's already awesome.
It is.
When in September is that?
So we're just starting planning in September. It should be in the springtime.
Oh, so it's going to be, you're planning.
Starting to plan.
I was going to say, because in September, he's got 166 miles to ride.
I do. Up in the UP, yeah.
Zach can handle it.
Yeah.
Multitasker.
Well, we're going. We're going to be in a bus, though.
James and Dylan are taking the bus, and they're going to be behind me.
Making sure he's fed.
So, no, but heading in towards the end of the year, we were trying to figure out, like, where we are with the Ludington branch, and reconfiguring and being like, okay, well, I have money I need to throw towards Ludington, or I need to, like, wait a little bit longer until we're closer to being up and running down there. Already starting to look at planning for Ludington, like, event-wise, volunteer stuff. Actually, I'm involved with the Shoreline Force already, which that's part of the Shoreline Cycling Club. They're Ludington based primarily, so we're already starting to get some community involvement in Ludington already. There's some other areas too that I feel like we've kind of lacked, like, in the community, and so just putting a bigger presence in those smaller areas. Brethren in particular, and their school has been really awesome to work with, like great to work with. They were the first ones. They invited me out to present our scholarships, and like we were out there for like their career day, and like they've been very like proactive, it feels like. And so I hope to get some more of the schools involved with that this coming school year. We also have let's see what else is going on event wise.
While you're thinking about that, one thing that doesn't get enough talk about scholarships, like $25,000 worth of scholarships we give away every spring. So credit unions, banks, like nobody does that. I know a local community bank did that this year to celebrate an anniversary, but we do it every year. $25,000 in scholarships, like that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
And why aren't you applying? It's free money. If you're a high schooler, like come do it. Like we get good applications, but at the same time, like it should be more, I would assume, just from the sense of $2,000 I can put in my back pocket for school. Like that's granted, it's probably like 4 books, but at the same time, it goes a long ways.
A long ways, man.
Like, and that's
a lot of money.
Yeah, like apply for those scholarships. And Zach has revamped the whole schedule of what that looks like. And our scholarship program is second to none, in my opinion. $25,000, and that's a lot for a $230 million credit union as we continue to grow.
Yeah, hell yeah.
No, and I kind of want to circle back though when you talked about credit unions and banks like changing names. So credit unions really took advantage of like the whole merger when it was like Chemical to Huntington and TCF, like that whole merger. Credit unions got a lot. The whole Silicon Valley thing that everybody was worried about back in March. credit unions have never lost a penny of members' money, ever. So that goes through all bank failures, through everything, right? So like mic drop. So like credit unions have never lost a penny of members' money. And that's something that people, when you mentioned, well, is it safe to keep my money all in one institution? And they have the whole thing is like $250,000 is always insured. Well, nobody's ever lost more than a penny at a credit union, even if you have $1 million in that account. So your money is safe at Filer Credit Union, I can tell you that. And other credit unions in the area, like I've seen credit unions change names pretty regularly through merger. Like we've never had that issue, and we don't intend to have that issue. If anything, it's Filer growing by acquisition in the sense of like we acquire smaller credit unions to get more branches.
Yeah.
So you can have faith that Filer Credit Union is going to be here for a long time, and your money is safe where we land right now. So Filer's a spot, baby.
Can we talk about cryptocurrency real quick?
Yeah.
Sure.
I love crypto.
I have some too.
I'm invested.
Me too.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
What are you invested in? Can you tell me?
Yeah, so I'm big in Cardano, Solana, and Ethereum. So those are my three go-to. I should have more in Bitcoin, but in my opinion, I would love to have like some sort of rewards program where you swipe a card and you're gaining crypto as you're doing it.
Because I wanted to talk about like how the credit union is the credit union involved in crypto in any way? Can we move crypto?
So you can purchase crypto through your accounts at Filer Credit Union. We don't currently have like an exchange or a blockchain embedded in Filer Credit Union currently. So if you're on Robinhood or Coinbase or FTX, whatever you use for
I was going to say you probably shouldn't use FTX.
Don't use that one. But whatever you use to purchase your crypto, you can use your accounts with Filer Credit Union to purchase that. But do we have any integration currently? No.
Where do you see, I know you have a little bit of crypto. You just said that you've got crypto and where it's at. Where do you see that going? Okay, let me say it this way. I'm terrified of it.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to be that guy already.
Because it's not regulated? Like, why are you scared of it?
I don't know. I just feel like the access, you hear these stories about like how you have to keep these keys, and if you lose it, you're SOL.
Yeah.
It's not easy in my, just because I'm not used to it. Mm-hmm. It's not like, I don't see the application in I want to buy something, here's my crypto. Mm-hmm. I don't currently accept crypto here. Sure. I know that at some point that's got to be part of like the sales process. Like somebody's going to come in one day and be like, well, I've got like an eighth of a Bitcoin, I need to buy some shit. Right. You know what I mean? I don't know how that works, and we don't need to get into like how crypto works, but I guess for me it's like I don't follow the financial news that much, but when I get the snippets, I'm terrified. Like maybe I have too much cash, mm-hmm. and I don't have anything in crypto, and then if I put money in crypto and I lose it because mm-hmm. I don't know who the grand Alibaba of crypto is, nobody does, which is wild,
which is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
there's a lot of whales that control it, but do you want to touch on?
So my view on it, I look at it more like you're investing in a company. And I do a lot of research for the cryptos that I do invest in. And like there's a lot of blockchain technology that just from a supply chain aspect is I feel like gonna help us out a lot. Mm-hmm. Right. So like the example I like to use is like we hear the stories of like, oh, I bought tuna from some fancy restaurant and they just did tests on it and it's not actually tuna, it's some other fish, right?
I saw that.
I saw that too.
Yeah, I mean it happens a lot. Mm-hmm. But like with that blockchain technology, it is going to allow us to actually keep track of that tuna all the way through the supply chain. And so like it's almost a verification process where you go to that restaurant in New York and you know for sure it's tuna. Mm-hmm. And so like when I look at it that way, I'm like, well, there's all these supply chain situations that can be improved because of that. Real estate's another good example. So we have this whole real estate process, right, and all the contracts and everything. Well, with smart contracts, that contract is built into that transaction. And so if you're transferring money, it's built in already. That entire housing contract is. And so like that could completely, and it probably will eventually change the whole real estate market, in my opinion. And it just makes it more accessible and easy. It's easier, I feel like, mm-hmm. for people. Although at the same time, like you said, like people are very timid by it. And when you first like if you don't buy crypto through like Robinhood or like one of those, and you're doing like actual like on-chain purchasing and whatnot, and you see that crazy string of numbers and letters, and it's just, I don't even know how, like, it's this long, like you look at that and you're like, what is going on here? And they were like, oh yeah, you gotta make sure it's all correct, and like you have all of your like code words. There's like 24 code words that you have to.
So you don't have to deal with
remember.
that shit if you're like on something like Robinhood.
No.
No.
If you're on
Which also
Robinhood,
has a sketch background.
no,
Yeah.
If you're on Robinhood, you don't have to deal with that.
I lost my taste with Robinhood.
No, me too. But just there's so much of that, and that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at that long-term like investment in that company, essentially.
Definitely. If you're chasing one of those like come by night coins, like how Doge was for a quick second, or Shiba, like those coins, like you're gonna lose your ass. So I mean, you can't chase those coins. You got to get those stable coins, the ones that have solid platforms. But if you're chasing like the next $1 million coin that you put $1,000 in, you think you're gonna be a millionaire, you're never gonna win.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's just use Bitcoin as an example. Then.
Yeah.
Let's say I have $100,000 worth of Bitcoin, and you need something to put a lien on because I want a loan. Can we do that with my Bitcoin?
Currently, no, because it's not stable. So your Bitcoin, your $100,000 worth of Bitcoin could be worth $150,000 tomorrow, or it might be worth $50,000 tomorrow. So like that lien, that collateral with that Bitcoin has no like steady value. So we could never use that as something like, well, we're putting a lien on your one coin or half of a coin of Bitcoin just because we don't know what that value will be tomorrow. So there's got to be like certain value that we know. Like if you bring in your, like there's no like depreciation schedule. You bring in your Lexus that comes in, and we can use that for collateral and put a lien on it because we know what that depreciation schedule would look like.
Sure.
It's a wild. So crypto's crazy.
It is crypto.
And most people that are investing in it are 40 and under. If you're 40 and above, I mean, there's people that are still investing, but like I would say you're 50 and above, don't know crypto, don't care about crypto, but they're also probably not in the place to invest in crypto because in the next 20 years, you want to retire. Like the 20, 30-year-olds have that leisure of like, I'm not going to retire in the next 15, 20 years, so I can take advantage of taking a little bit more risk.
I also think too, like that the little bit older demographic, they've already been saving, and so they already have like steady accounts that are making them interest and earning them interest and things like that, and so like their portfolio is a lot lower risk at that point.
Agreed.
You guys are obviously it might not be in like your embedded in your plan for the future of Filer right now to incorporate crypto into your banking, but the conversation is being had.
Yeah, there's conversations there. I can't say that the taste for it is very high right now across the board. If I had it my way, I'd be like, yep, crypto, we can make some benefits in the size of rewards, and I think that would really attract younger demographic, but just the unknown of it, I think there's not necessarily a huge taste for it right now.
Yeah, I think it's getting regulation established, and that's when the financial institutions are probably going to play like credit unions, because we have to follow so many more regulations, and so like that's when that starts getting incorporated. Whereas like a lot of the the investment bank people, they can just throw money towards it and be like, well, hopefully this goes up or whatever, or we're going to sell it at a loss, one or the other. So I think like long-term wise, I do think that we're going to have that regulation established, at least for some of it.
Yep.
Maybe not necessarily all of it, but some of it to start with. Probably Bitcoin in particular, that'll for sure get regulated, but
I think so too.
We'll see.
Gotta invest in Bitcoin, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm older than 40, so.
Well, I wouldn't have guessed that. You're young.
What else? We want to finish out with anything, or we're going to call it good for the morning?
Well, what's going on with Manistee Beverage?
Yeah,
Well, everybody knows what's going on with Manistee Beverage. I talk about Manistee Beverage all the time.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you're a community ambassador. I'm telling you that.
I'm not a community ambassador.
Well, yeah, you are.
Well, you helped out with the block party, though.
I just wrote a check.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I did not know what to expect there. There's a conversation I think that needs to be had going forward about that block party and future block parties.
What's that conversation look like?
Well, I mean,
how to make it bigger, better?
It's just I think the bang. I think it went off like Oppenheimer.
Awesome. Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is a quick little recap of that. At 4:00 when the road was blocked off down by the Vogue for them to start their setup, from 4 till about 6:45, crickets in Manistee Beverage. Now a lot of that is because of the bridge being out and the traffic going that way. And I'm like, well, tonight's going to be a dud. Everybody's going to be over there. Nothing's going to happen. One of my team members, Brian, at 7 o'clock was like, all right, guys, well, we'll see you tomorrow. Because time was done. And then Dano was working with me, but he was supposed to be done at 8 o'clock. And Manistee Dan had already left for the day. 7 o'clock hit when that music started. And, I mean, it was sleigh bell in here.
Yeah.
It was wild. My wife came down. She had to help. My 7-year-old was back in the back of the store doing a puzzle till 10:30 at night.
It's awesome.
Danny ended up coming down, a little bit of a jag on.
Yeah,
he had already been having his day off.
I ran a couple
Zach came
cups
down.
of ice.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
was like, holy smokes.
I texted him earlier in the day, like, you're going to come and hang out for the block party. He's like, hell yeah, I'm going to be there. He ended up working.
Poor guy.
Yeah, I showed up and I was like, oh, man.
Yeah.
James, of course, is just like blank in the face already. I was like, oh, my, this isn't good.
I try to keep
it cool.
Like I always talk about having a high positive vibe, but really I have a pretty good amount of social anxiety.
Sure.
So when there's more and more people around me, the more and more closed off I get. And anyways, it was a lot to handle.
Yeah.
So I think the conversation is, number one, we have to really dial in the social district.
Sure.
Because I had conversations with the police department afterwards. This is all good stuff. We had a great party. There were no problems. TJ's did a phenomenal job. It was a financial benefit to my business.
Yeah.
I can't speak for anybody else, but I did great that evening. But also, it was a constant education process on what the social district is and what you can and can't do. And honestly, I don't think it's mine or my team's job to be the professors.
Yeah.
But so there needs to be a little bit more education publicly on what the social district, what you can and can't do. I know that TJ's was super busy. I know they had a great business that night too. I think I would like to see something similar to that at least once a month.
Yeah.
And from June through September. We can do a June, July, August, September block party, whether that's over there or down by the fountain. But I know that TJ's can't do it that way because she put a ton of money into it.
Absolutely.
So it's got to benefit who's ever putting it on. I mean, in my opinion, if you're going to spend a few $1,000s to make something like that happen, you should reap some rewards from that.
Yep.
So moving, because I talked to the chief of police because he's trying to figure it out too, because it was a great party, but we learned some lessons.
Yeah.
There was a lot of outdoor alcohol consumption that I don't think was done properly.
Sure. Sure.
And I'm not trying to be the fun police, because if I didn't own a liquor store, I'd have probably bought a cooler of beer downtown.
Yep.
And a lot of people did that.
Yeah.
And I think so. There's just needs to be a little bit of a discussion, but I think it went off great. I loved it. I'm all for events, even if it doesn't benefit me. And
it's benefiting your community.
Term, it benefits everybody, and it'll bring more people downtown. I'm a downtown guy because that's where my business is. So I obviously want to see a downtown thrive. Our downtown every downtown and every community in the country needs to thrive. If it doesn't, then the community's falling apart.
Yep.
Because that's where the majority of the small businesses are downtown.
Yep.
So, that's my soapbox.
Yeah.
We got to get more people eating in our restaurants and shopping in our stores and experiencing all the little things that downtown has to offer. And we need to get younger people into the community. We need to find housing for them. We can go on and on, dude.
I know.
Housing's a big thing. The other day, we just chuckle. Number one, super blessed to own my own home.
Yep.
Right? And not have to worry about looking for a place to live. But there's like 2 places for sale in Manistee right now, in the city of Manistee, and they're both at $500,000.
Yeah.
And we've noticed that.
Nobody
Yeah,
is.
yeah, we know.
Yeah. Mortgages have slowed. Well, everybody's got that 2-3% mortgage. They're sitting on it.
Yeah.
They're not going to sell. Why would you sell, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to move right now. If you have a 2% mortgage, then all of a sudden you got to get a 7% mortgage.
Yep.
Your cost is going up $500 a month. It's hard.
But even at 7%,
That's probably about normal.
pretty decent
Yeah.
mortgage rate. When I was a kid, I know that my parents, one of their mortgages was like 15, 14%.
Yeah.
I just have some friends in here, like their parents' home is paid for. They bought it in the mid 90s, and their interest rate was like 12, 13%. That was pretty standard back then.
Which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And we
We've been
could
used
get
to it
there
for so
again,
long.
but I don't think we are in this day and age. But, I mean, that's why you're seeing more people take HELOCs out. So
Yeah.
I know you're probably trying to wrap, but just like one more thing to touch on with that. The people with 2-3% mortgages, they bought their house, let's say, 2016, 2017. Pandemic hit, refinance, you get 2-3%. the cost of homes and the value of your homes like have skyrocketed over the last 2-3 years. So people are coming in getting home equity lines of credit because the value of your homes has never been as high as they were right now. So if you wanted to buy investment properties or you wanted to fix up your home, now's the time to do it with a home equity line of credit, because your house that you bought for $250,000 in 2020, it's probably like a $400,000 house right now with the way the market is. So come in and get the equity off of it, then you can buy some investments and then make money off of your investments from there. So that's why we're not seeing much in like new mortgages per se, but you got to get some construction loans. You got to get people that take the equity out of their homes. Like you got to do it. And we have some good construction companies in our area, but we need to see a lot more new construction in Manistee, as well as more apartment complexes going up, because like you said, housing's a huge issue. That's a rural Michigan problem.
What's the interest rate look like on a HELOC?
So we tie it to prime. So as prime, it's a variable rate, so it goes where prime's going. So right now, I mean, it could be anywhere between 7.5%, 8%. I mean, but it's going to go down.
Yeah.
You would assume.
Yeah.
As CPI, so the consumer price index comes down, so does prime, and that is going to readjust every quarter to continue to come down. So
Think we're going to go into a recession?
I think we're already in one. I mean, to a certain point, we changed the definition of what a recession was, right? It used to be if you had 2 negative quarters of CPI, then you're in a recession. But then we're changing the definition of what a recession is. So we're not in a recession. But, I mean, it's not going to be a bad one, in my opinion. It's just we're not going to have a mortgage collapse like we did in 08, 09.
Oh, my God. I was there for that, dude.
Yeah. I was in college at the time, and I was in finance. And my professor, I remember him, he goes, "Good luck getting a job." And I was like, "Thanks, man. Sounds good."
Dude, 2008, 2009, I can remember, picking up the Manistee News Advocate, and there'd be 3 pages dedicated to
foreclosures. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was the time to buy, man. But it's not the same, because rates then were 10%.
Yeah.
9-10%. People at the 2-3%, they're not going to lose their homes. There's just no inventory now.
Yeah.
So now construction's going to boom. Value of homes are going to skyrocket. The other problem is you get people in Grand Rapids, Detroit, Chicago, and they see Mason, Manistee, Benzie County as like retirement homes or vacation homes, and they're coming in and they're buying these homes for cash. So it's hurting the local economy, in my opinion, just because you got a lot of investors from larger towns that are coming in, or cities coming in and buying these houses that are here 3 months out of the year. So they're using your business for 3 months, but then the other 9 months they're back in Chicago and Grand Rapids.
Yeah, I know that.
And I look at Manistee too, and like our growth that we're kind of starting to see, like we're kind of on the cusp of that. Mm-hmm. And like you look at like Traverse City and where they were, 20, 25 years ago, and like now you drive through, Kingsley or Buckley or Interlochen, and there's so many like places that people are housing there rather than being in Traverse City just because of that, and it's just drawing TC outward is what it's doing. It's you're not concentrating your city at that point because people are drifting further and further out to find affordable housing.
Yep.
And so that's going to create even more problem, with infrastructure in particular. But you take a look at Manistee and downtown Manistee and like our area, well, if we start getting all these people, like where are they going? Are they drifting outward? Are they, what's going to happen? Like Wellston, Free Soil, like are they drifting out that way? And then do we have the infrastructure to handle that too is the other thing.
These are the kind of conversations that Zach and I'll have for hours.
Oh, yeah. We could talk about that all day.
So it's probably
it's
a good
slippery
time
slope.
to stop.
Yeah. No,
It's probably a good time to stop. I appreciate you guys coming in. This is awesome. There's a lot of good information for people out there that want to learn about Filer. I'll put all of the links in the show notes, and I'll probably ask for a little bit of description for that education piece that you guys are doing for the school.
Absolutely.
So that I can plop that in as well. So
awesome.
Watch out for us in the community.
Yep. Don't be afraid to approach us. We're trying to get out there more and ask us questions, and we'll follow up. We'll make sure we get you in the best rate for loan and make you some more money, baby.
I love it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.